Hello and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. We're here for another preview show and we're looking ahead to the two games this weekend. This podcast is once again brought to you in association with McKeever's Teamwear, proud suppliers of all Armagh GA merchandise. We're going to hear from Kieran Clifford later on, recently retired Armagh hurler, and he's going to give us his thoughts on his recent retirement and looking forward to Armagh's game against Monaghan this weekend. But first up, I'm delighted to be joined by Kiva Morgan, and we're going to look ahead to the start of the Armagh Ladies League campaign kicking off this Sunday against Tyrone. So Kiva, it's an all-Ulster league once again for Armagh, same as last year, playing against Tyrone, Monaghan and Cavan, the exact same group. Probably a bit frustrating for players and supporters that you're constantly playing the same team over and over again.
Yeah, Sean, I think you can tell by my casting of my eyes there. It is very frustrating, something needs to be done about that. We could use COVID as the excuse, but now we need to be moving away from that. Plenty of county teams are playing other teams across the border at the minute. And it, for a team trying to prepare for that for the last couple of years, playing the same thing over and over again, it is very, very difficult for management and coaches to prepare for that, and that might seem like a contradiction. It should seem easy, but it's really not, because you're looking at the bigger picture. You're trying to see, well, what am I preparing for outside of this? And, when you're looking towards the All-Ireland stages, it's not helpful. And I suppose more so really not helpful for Armagh because of the fact of the competition is not great. Monaghan have lost an awful lot of players there. Their only real staples left would be Maureen Atkinson, and Cavan have lost a couple of players as well, and they're kind of rebuilding. And I suppose, Tyrone, they have really had a good clear out, and they're really working on their development from under 16 and minors into their senior squad, and have said by their own admission that they weren't going to let players back, and whoever comes, they'll work with it. And I think they're really trying to develop their youth. So I think Armagh will suffer the worst out of this, Sean, to be fair.
And coming up against them teams, keep it like Armagh, they're probably hailed as one of the best teams in the country, and rightly so. Their performances over the last 2 years particularly have put them up at that level, but they need to get promoted. They need to get up and play against them top teams. So is this the best opportunity? I know the negative side is maybe they're not getting the best competition, but it's a good chance to get promotion then this year.
Well, I suppose at the end of the day, you have to look at it in terms of you play what's in front of you. You can only control the controllables. So Armagh will obviously hit this with complete professionalism. They'll work on their game plan, and they really do need to be heading towards Division 1 football. You want to be playing the top tier teams. You've your Dublins, your Corks, Mayo, Galway, and you've Meath in there now too. And, having played for Armagh myself, and when we were in Division 1, we played a better quality football because you're playing better opposition. The fear is that when you're playing sometimes teams that aren't as strong, you get dragged down to their level. And that's what you kind of want to try and avoid, and you want to stick to your plan. So, of course, I would say that definitely their vision is to get out of Division 2, get into Division 1 and, play a good, strong brand of football.
And you have sort of touched on it there, but like how important is it, Kiva, to get up to Division 1? Because they've played Division 2 for the last couple of years and haven't done too bad. They've won 2 Ulsters back-to-back, an All-Ireland semi-final, All-Ireland quarter-final. If they get to that, hopefully get up to that Division 1 standard now this year, will that help push them on in terms of All-Ireland success?
I think it'll help push them on in terms of their confidence as well. When you're playing consistently well, and Cross McGlen's a great, example of that. Winning breeds winning, and to get into Division 1 then to be able to consolidate that and play against those teams, they're going to be coming out of Division 2 here, hopefully, and going into that All-Ireland stage, playing those teams that maybe they haven't come across as much. So at least when you're in Division 1 and you're playing those kind of teams, it's not as much of a shock or something that they don't know. So to have that consistency of being able to play those teams and in your head know, that we can compete with these teams. I know they can. I know a lot of the girls know that they can, but maybe for some of the younger ones, it would be a good experience for them, obviously, to be up in Division 1 playing that brand of football.
And the take on Tyrone this weekend, as we said, it's in Wolf Tones at 2 o'clock, I think throw-in time is. And Tyrone, we'll touch on, you mentioned they've lost a few players, we'll touch on that. But I suppose the recent league meetings between the two sides, I was just comparing the two last night. The league meetings are so much closer than the championship meetings, and I don't know if that's too easy to read into, but the championship meetings are 12 and 13 point wins for Armagh, while the league meetings, Armagh beat Tyrone by a point last year. Tyrone won the year before. Is there anything to read into that? Is there something in the league meetings maybe?
Maybe when you look at the National League, I suppose everybody's just starting out and you're trying to get all that rusty kind of, maybe mistakes out of the way. And, when you're playing Championship, obviously you've had a good run at the league. You're more settled maybe in your game plan and how things are working out. In the National League, you're trying out things as well. Armagh have a good few young players there as well that have come into the scene, maybe a new few faces that maybe they want to try out through this National League. So I wouldn't read too much into the fact that maybe, it was closer encounters. I think Armagh always have it in the tank and, they know what to do, when things get tight. And so I back them 100%, for this against Tyrone. I know what's going on within Ulster, and there's an awful lot of rebuilding in a lot of counties. And I think it's Armagh's chance to really push on here, and I wouldn't be taking anything lightly, of course, but, it's definitely a chance for them to push on and really, really, give Tyrone a good match. Yes, of course, but I think they'll pull away quite well in the end.
I suppose them Championship games and results are probably give us a better reflection of where the two teams are at, that Armagh are 12 or 13 points better than Tyrone, and we've seen that in the recent meetings. I think it was the Ulster semi-final last year. Armagh won quite convincingly in the end, and that probably gives us the best idea of where the standings are between the two teams.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. As we say, even Ciara McGeeney would be saying at the minute, don't be reading too much into the league, but it takes teams a wee while to get going, and it's first competitive kind of matches. Everybody be sussing everybody out, and Championships is really where Armagh shine. I feel they really take on board the fact that it's a challenging encounter, and they want to give up their best, and they really do rise to the challenge of Championships. So that's why usually you maybe probably would see a bigger margin between the two teams. Yeah.
On Tyrone, they've lost a few of their more experienced heads. Niamh Woods, I think she's a two-time All-Star red, has stepped away, and Christina Hunter as well. That I don't think Armagh have any retirements or anybody stepping off the panel. So I suppose when Tyrone are losing that sort of quality and that experience, it's going to be almost impossible to replace immediately.
Yeah, well, look, Niamh Woods is a massive loss for Tyrone. I mean, she has been a total stalwart for them. And I know, look, I've known Niamh well in times in your life where you just decide, look, I need to move on. There's other things I have to do, and she owes Tyrone absolutely nothing. They will miss her in terms of her leadership. She always leads by example, and Christiane Hunter, a good solid defender there. But look, at the end of the day, I'm sure Tyrone were prepared for this, and they know that the players stepping away. Armagh, lucky enough that they still have, that pool that they would have had there. And it's great to be able to say, that there's no real change. But Tyrone will probably be trying to brush over it and say, look, it's fine. Look, we prepared for this. And, sometimes they wouldn't have had Niamh Woods maybe because of netball. So, yeah, whereas, it's changed for them. I do think they have good young players coming through there. Players that I would know from school there. We like Emma Conroy. And she's a great wee player. Lucy McAlary, good young ones there. And look, it comes a time where there is transition and there's change, and it's just how you best deal with it.
And Armagh, I suppose, Armagh's lucky they've been building a solid squad for the last couple of years, and hopefully this year maybe they're going to push on and finally push on the national stage. But we've seen younger players coming through, the likes of Alex Clark has come through the last year or two and getting into the team. Armagh have a really solid squad built up now from Ronan Murphy took over, and maybe before that as well.
Yeah, they really do. And I suppose what I'd like to see in the National League is him trying those players out. Suppose last year it was iffy, we didn't really know what we were facing because of COVID and things like that. And, maybe as a management, they didn't want to try as many players, but I definitely think now, those players have been about, the likes of Emily Druce and Megan McShane. She's been there for a couple of years now. I'd like to see those get a wee bit of game time. You've made Mia Ferguson in now, who's Grace's wee sister. She's been in playing maybe around corner back. She's a great wee player and really listens and learns. Grania Boylan has come in as well. It'll be nice to see how she will adapt to county football. There's been an awful lot of talk about her in the club scene and Armagh minors. So, it's hard to make the transition to senior county football. So it'll be really nice to see, can she step up, and live up to the hype around her name. And Aoife Lennon, I suppose, is back as well. And I suppose maybe with Aoife, it's a wee bit of unfinished business. A lot of people would have always said around the county, Aoife Lennon should be in there. And, it'll be nice to see what she can bring to the table. I played with her around 2014, and she brought a new dynamic. She's quite creative as a player, but I suppose time has moved on, and it'll be interesting to see, will she be able to produce those things. But it's nice to have fresh faces in and around. And I suppose the most exciting one for me at the minute is Kate Toe from Clonerne. I had played with her a few years ago, but I mean, she has just blossomed ever since then. She's a fantastic defender, a great young girl, really listens and takes on board and wants to learn. So in terms of new faces for Armagh, it's great to see. You need to be building all the time. You need to bring in new, fresh people. And then you always have your stalwarts there, which is great too, not to be biased, but like having, the Marley girls there, you've one in defence, one around midfield and one in the forward line. And I mean, if Armagh are doing the work that I can see that they're doing off the pitch, and working away on those kind of things, they'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with, yeah.
And you spoke about a few of them new players in keeper, the likes of Grania Boylan, who I seen in the county final for Clavey scored, I think she scored 4-14 that day, so she's definitely worth a county call-up. But the likes of her and Aoife Lennon coming back into the squad, that's already a stacked forward line that Armagh have. It's going to be difficult for them to break in. We spoke about Alec Clark. We'll get on to Amy Mackin, Kelly Mullen still there, Caroline O'Hanlon, Catherine Marley, as you said. There's so many names in that forward line it's difficult to just pick six.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? Competition is great. You need competition. You need one person for every line, that's nipping at your heels, wanting to get in there. And it's good to have the variety. And then you have to plan for maybe a few injuries that might happen there too. So it's nice to be able to, dip in and say, look, we'll try a different thing today. You've Alex Clark there, who I just think is amazing. She brings so much spontaneity to a play. She's not as predictable as some other players. So she's always good to look at. What will Grania Boylan bring? Will she be the goal machine that she is, had been for the minors and is for Clavey? It's very hard for a team to prepare to mark those players, when you have so much variety. And yes, you have Amy, who's fantastic, but then to be able to bring someone else in, and that's, that was great with Aoife Lennon, because when Aoife Lennon and Kelly Mullen played in our 2014 team, all the talk was about those two players, but they didn't know about Amy Mackin. So it's nice to be able to bring in the variety that other teams mightn't know about.
And there seems to be a real feel-good factor and real momentum around Armagh ladies football at the minute. Obviously, over what has happened the last couple of years, and Light Up Killian as well going on. It seems a real feel-good factor, and that obviously carries into the team as well, I would assume.
Well, like, all I get is positivity from the girls. I don't hear much now. It's very closed camp, and it's a very family feel, which is good, which is great. But as I said, I see the work that they're doing off the pitch, and I know that they're very happy and they enjoy training, and that buzz is really, really there. And Killian is fantastic. I know when I played for Armagh, you might have heard on a Tuesday at 5 o'clock that you were training in Silverbridge, and for girls coming from Belfast and trying to prepare yourself for things like that, and the vision was there to realise that, we need our own place. And I mean, they've led the way for other county teams, I suppose, and people are looking at them and saying, that's the figurehead, that's what we need to be doing. It's great for other, the minors to be able to come to training maybe after the seniors and see those heroes and those people that they want to aspire to be. So, it's only positive moving forward. And I suppose this is probably a good point for me to say, they are trying to raise money for Killian to get lights on the pitch, and I'm sure you can go through the Facebook link if anybody wants to, get on board with that. But I mean, that is the future, and I suppose it's great to see that Armagh are the figureheads leading the way there.
And just before I let you go, Keith, I want to talk about a wee bit about Amy Mackin. I think Armagh had a recent challenge game with Down, and there was a few pictures put up on social media, and Amy Mackin had the number 7 jersey on her. Now I don't know, I wasn't at the game, so maybe everybody just went in and picked up a jersey, and it was ever, she could have been playing full forward, but to see her wearing number 7 was strange. And I'm just wondering, maybe are we going to see something different with her? I remember Ciara McGeaney used that tactic with Jamie Clark a couple of times in the league, playing him at wing half back so we could understand what sort of movement that the forward would make and how the wing half back would deliver the ball. So is that what we're seeing with Amy Mackin? Are we going to see a new position, or would Armagh be crazy to take her out of the forward line?
Well, I don't know is the answer to that question, what the truth behind it is. But look, I agree with what you say there. Sometimes managers put players, from the forward position into a defensive position to see how hard it is actually to win the ball and get it up there. And I know Amy's working on things like better shot selection, where she does get some unbelievable scores. Sometimes maybe she needs to think about where she's shooting from. So maybe that's a tactic there. I think she's definitely more lethal and better in closer to goal. But I know she has the ability to play in many places. And what's great about Amy is her attitude and her work rate. You ask her to do anything for Armagh, she'll do it. So I don't know if there's any secret plans up their sleeve. I know it would really take some team aback if they saw her out in wing half back position. I don't know, but look, I mean, the attitude of those players there is just, I just love the girls. They're great. They work so hard. They believe in the cause, and they work really hard for each other. So I just love to see them get their just rewards this year. I believe they're a team that should be at the top, and they're definitely in contention for top 4 position in this All Ireland series. And hopefully they'll come out of Ulster, and you know, they are back-to-back Ulster champions, and I could see them doing a triple on that. And I do see them doing very convincingly in the National League. I can't see anyone putting it up to them. I really can't.
Well, hopefully it's a good year for the Armagh ladies, and we'll not know till Sunday where Amy Mackin's going to play. But that game is on Sunday in Wolftones at 2:00. Next up, we're going to have Kieran Clifford coming on. He's going to talk retirement and hurling with us ahead of Armagh's second round clash with Monaghan, also on Sunday at 2:00 in Enniskeane. So Kiva, thanks very much for coming on, and I'll chat to you again.
Thank you.
I'm delighted to have recently retired Armagh hurler Kieran Clifford on with us, and he's going to talk to us a bit about his recent retirement, and also looking forward to the Armagh hurling game this weekend as they take on Monaghan following their 1-point win over Louth last weekend. Kieran, delighted to have you on, and thanks very much for coming on to talk to us following your recent retirement.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on. Sounds a bit strange, recently retired, but yeah, decided to, after the end of last year, just with county, with the hurling, just thought my time. I've been there since 2008, and I've given a decent bit of service, and just things move on. Busy with work and moving house and bits and pieces like that. So and the last couple of years as well, just with COVID and things like that, it was interrupted seasons and bits and pieces probably made it easier with the shortened season. So once it returned to like a normalish season with pre-season before Christmas and everything, it just was a decision that was, well, it was easy enough made in the end, and that hasn't something that I've really looked back on yet. So I'm happy enough with where I am, and currently just looking forward to the club season starting up, and having a good go with the club season now. It's been a long time since I've had a full year with the club, so that's probably something that I'm looking forward to the most now as we look into the new 2022.
Have you get used to it yet, Kieran, being retired? As you say, you've been there a long time, doing the pre-season slog every year for however long that was. Have you get used to it now? Are you a bit more relaxed? You can put the feet up at the weekends and stuff?
I think with getting used to it, I think with COVID, the interruptions of the last couple of years anyway, you've sort of had 2 or 3 or 4 months sitting up anyway at the home with the feet up, doing your own training and, you know, just doing your own program. So I'm used to it at the minute. I'm getting used to it anyway. Probably on a Sunday now at the weekends, possibly the only thing I'm missing maybe is the competitive games. The pre-season training and attending Uri to run around tracks and all that goes with it probably wasn't missed in December, early January. But once the competitive games start coming into it, and you know, that's probably the one thing that you do miss. But you know, as I say, whenever the club league starts up and the club games get into action, then you know that'll be sort of replaced with that sort of. So missing parts of it, but there's a lot of the pre-season stuff that's definitely not missed.
And you were saying it sort of was an easy enough decision to make. You felt that your time had sort of come, but was there any part of you that was tempted maybe to give it one more go and maybe have one more go at this Nicky Record Cup?
Yeah, there was plenty of it. Yeah, just getting interrupted here with my class coming back in, but you're dead on. No, there was plenty of sort of reasons why I was looking forward to maybe the last couple of years. I was sort of, you know, as I say, with the COVID years being the way that it was, I was probably lucky enough that the county seasons were maybe only 12 and 15, 16 weeks. Where this year you were going back to a full season again and you were thinking, God, you know, you're going to be starting out in early December and you have to go through the 8-10 weeks of pre-season, and then you've got, just a full extended season and trying to mix that with club as well. Where they overlap. I just thought, you know, all the benefits or all the pros out of it, there was definitely a lot more. There's definitely a lot more cons. So in the end, it was an easy enough decision.
And just reflecting back on your career then, maybe a bit of a silly question, but what was the highlight? I'm sure the Nicky Rackard Cup success that you're involved in 2012 is up there, but I suppose could you limit it down to one highlight, or what will you miss the most, I
Yeah,
suppose?
playing in Croke Park, in 2012 for the first time was definitely one of the highlights. And winning the Nicky Rackard medal, because the other occasions we got to Croke Park, it was always defeats. So that probably was one of the highlights. But I think winning the league as well, Division 2B, and getting Armagh promoted to 2A for the first time in a long time, maybe a first time ever, and playing in Division 2A in 2017 was probably one of the highlights as well. We were playing against teams now that are all competing. Westmeath are in the Liam McCarthy, and the rest of the teams, your Antrams and your Carlos, are all in the Joe McDonough. So that's definitely, I think that was probably just as much, if not more, of a highlight as well. And the fact that we beat Down in the final two was definitely a big highlight as well. And everything that went with it that day, the weather and the conditions, and it was one of them performances, one of them league campaigns that, when you put it all together, we were building it for a couple of years on the Rocky, on the Sylvester, and it sort of just became a four that day. And I think that was probably looking back, playing in Croke Park, winning the All Ireland was brilliant. But I think for myself, definitely, I think playing at Division 2A and being part of that team was probably the biggest highlight.
And this year, Kieran, and this team now, I suppose they've got their league off to a good start. They beat Louth at the weekend there. I'm sure maybe that was difficult for you once the game started again. You sort of said that's when you're going to miss it.
Yeah, like anybody who plays, at a club level, county level, or whatever, they play it because they're competitive, and yes, you enjoy training and you enjoy the preparation and looking after yourself. But at the end of the day, you want to be playing games, and if you're on the panel and you're not playing games, you're disappointed and you want to be on. And it's the same story when you step away. I said the only thing that I'm really missing, or really missed this past couple of months, was really just on Sunday past. You don't really miss the challenge matches and such, because there's always, they're always looking at things, or it's not the same competitive edge. So it was definitely more when it came to, the first league game, and you sort of know that, once the league starts up, you've got 5-6 games, hopefully league final 6th game in 8 weeks, and then you're straight into a Nicky Rackard campaign this year, of a league campaign as well. So you're looking possibly at 12-14 games in the next 4 months. So that's definitely, but I think the boys got a good start on Sunday, or Saturday. Sorry, it probably doesn't come across that way, but when you're in the bubble and you're in that team environment, at the end of the day, you only want the 2 points, and if you get it luckily, or you get it convincingly, it's still 2 points on the board, and then they can move on with a bit of momentum now, looking towards the next 4 games in the league. As I say, hopefully they can get to a league final.
And obviously, as you say, the 2 points are the main thing. That was the main thing come Saturday. But I suppose there is a saying that good teams win when they're not playing well, and that maybe spoke about Armagh on Saturday. That for long periods they trailed Louth, but they come good in the end. And obviously the impact of the likes of Owen McGuinness coming off the bench got them over the line.
Yeah, it's first league game is always difficult, because you don't know. I say, when you're playing challenge matches and all, there's people, the managers are always looking for things, or they're giving boys opportunities. And just because Armagh had a decent enough McGurk Cup against Down and things like that, doesn't really mean much, because, as I say, there's different priorities for challenge matches. But when it comes to the league and the first game, it's a very much an unknown. So any sort of victory at all is always a positive. I'm sure the boys won't be happy just with winning by a point. I'm sure they would like to have won by a bit more convincingly than that. But using the likes of Owen McGuinness to come on, that's what Armagh have been missing this past couple of years, is that strength in the overall squad, and maybe not having that experience to come on when the game was tight and was to be decided. So that's probably one of the big benefits this year, is having a number of experienced boys have returned, and that can only be a positive for the squad, but also for the younger boys there to learn off them boys as well, and to see, what it takes to, be competitive and be successful. So I think all in all, the squad that they're at the minute is definitely now has the competitiveness anyway to be, challenging for a league and Nicky Rackard honours, pretty seriously come the business ends of the season.
And having spoke to Simon Doherty and Dean Gaffney recently on the podcast. They sort of made that same point as well, that there's a real competitive edge to training now. They can have 15 on 15. There's a squad depth there that maybe they haven't had in recent years. And has that been the issue maybe in recent years, Kieran? They've been knocking on the door in the league for a couple of years, and the Nicky record, of course, too. But just haven't got over the line. Has it maybe been that squad depth that hasn't worked well?
Possibly the squad depth. I think 2 years ago we were beaten in the league. Well, Roscommon beat us. I think any teams that have beat us in the league finals or have came above us in the league finals have always been good teams. You know, Roscommon beat us in 2019 in the league final. They were playing a level above us in the championship. Donegal beat us in 2020 before COVID. And they were playing Christy Ring before that. And then last year, Sligo, there was no league final, but they came top and we came second. And again, you know, they were playing at a Christy Ring level. So when you're playing teams of that sort of and having numbers there, but having experience there, and boys of a certain standard and a certain quality and a certain know-how. Like if you're having 30 boys there, but maybe 15 or 10 of them are new under the panel and haven't had that experience, and you're comparing that to maybe this year, if you're bringing back 4, 5, 6 boys from Middletown or from Derrynouse with the Two Lennons who have 5, 6 years county experience and they've won also championships with their club, and you know, if you're comparing experience-wise, well then that's obviously going to be, you know, a big benefit. And you know, if from listening to Simon and listening to Dean, what they've been saying is that seems to be the case, that there's more of a competitive nature at the training. Boys have to push each other on to get on the 26. Boys have to push each other on to get on the first 15, and that's ultimately going to hopefully raise the level. But when we do compete, hopefully in a league final or in a Nicky record final, then that's, if you are playing teams maybe from a different league or a higher league, then that competitive training and competitive preparation will have will be of good benefit.
Forward to this weekend, then they're taking on Monaghan. They have to go to Monaghan on Sunday. They've done well against Monaghan the last couple of years. They beat them, I think it was 127 to 215 last year. They beat them very convincingly the year before. I think you got a point in that game last year, Kieran.
I think that was my first score. I was told after the game that was my first score since 2010. So I was probably due one before I retired. But I think it's a bit like Louth last week. When you're playing the first few games of the league, you know, you could go out on Sunday and it could be a lovely bone dry, crisp day. Ball could be bouncing off the ground. It's a nice day for hurling. Or you could get, you know, a gale force wind and heavy rain and a heavy pitch, and it turns into then a battle of sort of a physical stakes instead. And it doesn't matter how good Armagh or how poor other opposition are, you know, Monaghan or Louth or Warwickshire. If you're not zoned in, if you're not tuned in, then you know it's that local rivalry as well can definitely, you know, play a part. I know the last couple of years we have played them in Nicky record games and we played them in league games, and we've always sort of aimed for the first 15-20 minutes to get a good start, and if you can get the game out of sight by half time, they'll, you know, the second half usually just follows a formality, you know, in terms of the game being over. Where if you're up against Monaghan and they're, you know, they're level or they're close at half time and they're sort of coming with a bit of a push in the second half, then that's working into a wee bit of difficulty, as you've seen with Louth the weekend. So I think this weekend the Armagh boys will definitely be aiming for a very strong start. You know, trying to put the game out of sight by half time, so you know that they don't give the opposition this time Monaghan, they don't give them the sniff to, you know, to maybe take that chance of a point or a win either. So I'd say there'll be a lot of lessons learned from last weekend against Louth, and I think the boys will definitely put them lessons into good practice this weekend. And I do see a victory, you know, and hopefully I'm right in a convincing enough victory this weekend.
I suppose I'll let you go after this, Kieran, but how big of you're talking about a good start in the games against Monaghan to try to get, you know, a foothold in the game, but a good start to the league, 2 points already against Louth, and another 2 maybe this week hopefully against Monaghan. That's they're on their way then for their promotion push, which is ultimately the goal this year.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you have 5 league games and you have a league final, so realistically you're gonna have to be aiming to win 4 of them games, to get into that league final, and doesn't matter who you're beating. If you're getting your wins, you're getting your wins. If you get 2 wins the first 2 games, it takes a lot of pressure off the rest of the games after that. And again, if you're winning your first 2 games, it's providing that bit of momentum to carry through. It's providing that bit of a good feeling around the camp. Boys will be looking forward to getting out to the 3rd game, and attacking that. But in saying that, again, when you're playing Louth and Monaghan, no disrespect, but Armagh, probably the boys would have been definitely eyeing up them 2 points for both them games as well. And they're probably looking, thinking, well, the likes of maybe Warwickshire would have to travel over to Birmingham. They've got Tyrone as well and Roscommon. So that, from previous years there, the last couple of years, your Tyrones and Roscommons would have provided a lot more difficulty than your Monaghans and Louths. But as I say, with your first 2 games, you can only beat who you're put in front of you. If you win your first 2 games, you're setting yourself up then for a good league champion.
Kieran, brilliant. Thanks for giving up your time on talking to us, and all the best in your retirement.
No problem. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye-bye.